Never have enough time to play it all.
Welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande and another episode of the Two Nubs Mine. I'm getting ready to get started on a list of things that need to be done still, and the list is pretty long. I'm going to try and focus on the finishing touches on some of the dirt work. I need to kind of make a decision about the fascia. I'm going to do a test piece on that. I've got lots of grass work, shrubbery work, and I think I'm going to do some airbrushing as well as some other details that just need to be done. Now, aside from what I've already mentioned, I've got trees that are in the process of being built, and I'm not sure when they're going to make it into the scene, but I don't think any of them are going to make it in this episode. I've also got several detail pieces. I've got the boiler that's going to go in here. I've got some stuff for the dock and stuff for on the inside. I've got stuff for the inside of this building, and I haven't done anything with the roofs or the cabling yet. The buildings are going to be, or at least this building and that building will be lit. So I'm not sure where I will go in all of this particular video, but for sure I'm going to try and get some green into the scene, because right now it just kind of looks like Arizona, and I want it to look like my version of Colorado. And in my opinion, a lot of times the state of Colorado, as modeled by some of us, ends up not looking as green as what it appears in my mind anyway. So enough yammering, let's get started and see what happens. My process here, if it wasn't obvious by watching all of the video, I like to start, obviously with paint. After the foam is created and you've got all of the texture that you're looking for, I like to go in with a very thin layer of dirt to establish what is dirt and what is rock. So, the rock should be pretty obvious to you. I also dabbed in a little bit of darker color where I knew the grass was going to go, because it should be a low area in the dirt work that grass might grow. Everything kind of working from this point forward, I'm going to try and get, where you're seeing varying heights of what's here. So it's not just a smooth dirt texture. And, I just got to figure out where I want static grass to be, and bushes and the trees. Now, as far as the color goes, the green, which is this fine turf, burnt grass from Woodland Scenics, it may look really green in the scene as compared to everything else. It doesn't really, to my eye, standing here looking at it. And color is very subjective, depending on the light in the room and then what you're viewing it on. And of course, the actual camera that I'm making use of and how it's edited in the editor, which I'll mention, I am using a different editor now with a better ability to affect color in post. I think the previous videos that I have done in this area with the dirt work has really made it look like it was almost white. And I can tell you, standing here looking at it, it's the dirt color is really what I like. It ended up being just almost exactly what I have always envisioned it to be, even though you guys might be looking at it and thinking it's way too bright. But it's just a matter of kind of working in extra layers, and I've said way more than I intended to in this segment, so we'll continue on. I thought, since I mentioned that I was working on trees, I'd go ahead and include just a segment here, kind of what I got going on. And I can tell you that I am still in the process of kind of figuring this whole thing out. I'm getting closer to feeling a little more comfortable with how to proceed and what to do, kind of moving forward with it. And right now, I'm still making use of masonite sawdust as the bark for most everything I've done so far. And I like it. It's a nice texture. Now, this particular tree, because I haven't wound the armature structure all the way out, this is definitely going to be a pine tree of some kind. The loops might not be long enough to represent, I don't know, like a juniper or whatever. But that, as compared to, say, this particular one that I've got the bark, I don't know if I can get it to focus, but I've got the bark in everywhere. I have kind of brought that loop structure out further, and this will represent a ponderosa, which is kind of pretty much most of what I've done so far is supposed to be representative of a ponderosa. Here's another one that it's not completely dried yet with the bark texture. And then I've also got a few of these that I've begun the flocking with the 12 millimeter static grass. And I'm probably going to put one more layer of bark on here to kind of flesh it out just a little bit, because right now the upper structure of the tree is thicker than the bottom structure, which It kind of makes it look odd. And this is, I think, going to be representative of an aspen when I get finished with it. I've got a couple more similar to it that I'm kind of working on. Trying to do a whole bunch at once just to kind of get a feel for the whole process. I'm considering building a jig that might make the process go faster. I kind of have an idea in the back of my head about how I might want to do it to help the looping process. I don't know. We're going to see where that goes. Just an in progress on the trees, and one of them might end up making it on to the layout before the end of this video. I don't know. I'm kind of taking my time with this. Someone escaped from the house, and I probably made a really bad decision of letting this creature come into the train room. So far, there's been no destruction, but you can see there's some clear ownership of the area being developed. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a disaster. The scene's moving along pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with how everything's turning out. I've got 12 millimeter grass here. I've got these tufts, and I'm just kind of trying to sprinkle in a little bit of everything that I think should be in the scene. I am looking at some photographs. I've got lots of photographs of the Royal Gorge area, and you know, there's lots of grasses, bushes, scrub trees, and things like that. So I don't think I've overdone it by any means. And you know, what I'm doing is I'm bouncing back and forth between kind of putting in a little bit, stepping back, not gluing anything at the moment, going back and doing a little work on some trees, and then coming back and going, well, yeah, I do like that, or no, I don't. So, you know, it's not easy for me to kind of film the actual process of what I'm doing. I will move the camera one time so you can kind of see from a different perspective, because, you know, that's part of the process, is looking at things from multiple different angles. So this is kind of a view that an operator might have, you know, as they're coming in through here with a car of some kind. I'll go ahead and move this out of the way. I've done nothing left of this kind of line right here. And I think I'm pretty happy with the way everything's going in there, that I can probably go ahead and start moving to the left. But I was kind of wrong about the trees. I think I am going to be able to get at least 3 trees off into this scene somewhere before the end of this particular video. So let's go take a look and see what's going on with the trees. Since I'm kind of working on a bunch of these, I happen to have some that are in various different states of the build process. So I thought I'd just kind of show, you know, kind of where I'm at on some of it. Now, this is, I guess, what they call seafoam or super leaf material. And it's supposed to be representative of, I guess, maybe a smaller version of an aspen or just some other smaller tree. I've got a couple of these that I'm working on, and I'm using super leaf, and this is, well, I don't see what color it is. I think this is just light green, but it's also got, you know, some some pure yellow stuff in there as well, but it's kind of a light medium green. And so here is a horrible wire armature that this may be kind of the first one that I did when I decided to start mass producing them. You can see I have not bothered to do anything else with it. Here's another one that I've got the bark texture on. I still need a couple layers, and it's almost ready to start putting some of the secondary branch structures on. And then here is another kind of where I'm at right now. This is going to be an aspen. I haven't done any of the painting of the bark, which needs to be white and black. And I'm not sure how this one's going to turn out, but I'm going to put the super leaf on it. I think I'm going to paint it first, get the white kind of put in where I want it with the black splotches that an aspen has, then kind of see how it looks after that. I'm kind of doubtful that it will be very representative of an aspen, but it should be okay. I plan on tucking it kind of towards the back. And then I've got this that's supposed to be a ponderosa. And I think the plan with my pine trees is not to use the super leaf, but instead use foam. I'm going to do just a little more research. I've kind of looking at different pictures of different kinds of wire armature trees that may have used super leaf versus foam, because I think the foam looks a little bit better maybe for a pine tree. And then this, of course, is a dedicated pine tree, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out so far. I hope that I don't screw it up before it's finished. So it's got 12 millimeter, and then in some of the places I went ahead and tried to put in like 4 and 6 millimeter. I kind of finally decided that it didn't really need it on this tree. This tree does have a little bit of both throughout. So that's where I'm at, and I think I'm going to get started adding some of this leaf material. The scene has progressed pretty good for the most part. I'm happy with how it's looking. I still think I could put a lot more stuff in here. And of course there's going to be, I'm guessing maybe 4 to 6 more trees somewhere in here, and maybe even some of these smaller trees. I think the next thing I want to do before I kind of do any of that is I want to go ahead and work on everything that's on the back side of the buildings along the top here and kind of on the back side, so that at some point I'll know what I need to do on the front side. I want to get all of the backside stuff finished first. I think I'll finish up here with just a few comments about the trees and some other things. So the trees are, I would say, underwhelming at the moment for sure. This tree I don't think will make the finished scene. It looks nothing at all like what I would want it to look if I were trying to represent an aspen. So I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board on it. I'll leave it in for a while just because it does kind of help with the color, if nothing else. And the other two, this one back here, I think it's okay. This one is supposed to be a ponderosa. Doesn't quite fit the bill either. It's all a learning process. Now, I have looked at some other species of trees. Something like this, I think, might kind of represent Gamble oak, I think. And then I've also got another one. Let me move the camera. Back here that is another, smaller tree. I think they call them a choke cherry or something like that. I'm not sure about the greenery, but the size is more about what I'm trying to represent there. So, I think the next step, I'm going to do kind of some dedicated research on specific species, because I think that's what I need to do is look at some different species that would be appropriate for the elevation that I'm trying to recreate, which I'm not overly concerned about that. But I think there's a lodgepole pine, there's a bristlecone pine, a limber pine, and of course a Douglas fir. So I'm going to look into those things and see if I can find a way to better represent the trees that I want. And it's all a learning process. And I think, everything on the backside, like I mentioned before, is finished for the most part. So aside from working on trees, I need to come in here and kind of figure out what's going to go on here in the front to kind of finish the scene. And then once I've done that, then I'm going to go back and dedicate, probably a whole weekend just for details inside and around the building to kind of finish this thing up. I'm hoping to be finished with this entire scene before the end of the month of May. I don't know if I'll make that or not, but I've eventually got to get back to work on the great big pink pancake that's probably going to change significantly. But we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Otter Creek and Rio Grande. We'll see you around, and enjoy your modeling project.